And a literal equation is an equation with two or more variables. To solve a literal equation for one variable, you use inverse, which is the opposite, inverse operation. No, this is will not be on the quiz, but it will be on your test. But this will not be on the quiz. To solve a literal equation for one variable, use inverse operations. Landon. Okay. So if I look at this problem here, and this is a normal problem. A problem like this may be on the quiz. See how it just has x plus 7 equals negative 12. How would I solve that problem? Subtract 7 from both sides. So x equals negative 19. Okay? So in this case, I'm trying to get this a by itself. So I need to move the b. So since it's plus b, what's the opposite of adding b? We're going to subtract b from both sides. So a equals c minus b. I can't combine those because they are not like terms. So that would be my final answer. Okay, you use the same operations we've been doing. You just may not get a very one number. Does that make sense? All right, so in this case, what would I do to solve for y?
Add 9.
Add 9 to both sides. And y equals 43. Does everybody understand that part? Okay, so if I'm solving for d, so you always want to look for the one you're solving for, then I need to get this e to move. So since it's minus e, what's the opposite? Add e to both sides, but those aren't like terms. So I get d equals e plus f or f plus e. You can do it either direction because you can add 2 plus 3 or 3 plus 2. Okay? Yes. Well, happy late birthday. Were you 15? Awesome. Did you get your learners yet? Not yet. Okay. All right. Everybody good so far? All right. So here, how would I solve for x? Divide by negative 6 on both sides. So x equals 5. Negative 30 divided by negative 6 is 5. Okay. So don't lose me. Do you see the r here? Okay, this is 2 times pi times r, right? This is one that we did last week on the skills check. Remember this? So since these are being multiplied by r, these two things here are being multiplied, so we're going to divide. The 2 cancels and the pi cancels, and whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So c over 2 pi equals r. Okay, so let's look at it again. We'll do another one, we will. Okay, so let's look at it again. I'm redoing, so we'll do it again. Okay, so this is 2 times pi times r, yes?
Yes.
So I need to get r by itself. So what is with r that I need to get away from r? Pi and 2. And they're being multiplied, so what's the opposite of multiply? Divide. So I divide both sides by 2 pi. I get c over 2 pi equals, that cancels and that cancels, so it just leaves me r.
Wait, how did you get divide?
Because what's the opposite of multiplying? Dividing. So if I had area equals length times width, and I'm solving for w in this case, what's the opposite of multiplying? Divide. So I'm going to get the L away. The L's cancel, and I have area over length equals width. Does that make sense now? And that's what I need you to do, is ask a question when you don't understand. Is it? Yes. Yes, because some people's not here. That way I can post it. All right. Here, Please pay attention. This is y divided by -4. So what's the opposite of dividing?
Multiply.
Multiply by -4 on both sides, because whatever I do to one side of the equation, that's right. So I get y equals -32. Does that make sense? Because it was divided by -4. The opposites multiply by -4. Is everybody with me? Okay, here I'm solving for m. So here's my m. What's happened to the m? Being divided by v. So what's the opposite of dividing by v? Multiply on both sides by v. So I get vd, the v's cancel, equals m. That makes sense? Because they're multiplied, right? And side by side. Okay? So if I had had r equals d divided by t, okay? If I had r, Jaden, if I had r equals d divided by t, and I'm solving for d,
So you multiply t by both sides.
yes, t
And then it's t r
equals d. Does that make sense now?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, now we're going to get a little bit harder. So I'm solving for y, so I need to get this y by itself. So I need to move this 2x first. How do I move this 2x? Gonna subtract it because it's positive from both sides. That's going to leave me 2y equals 4 minus 2x. Yes. Yes. I was waiting here. Does everybody understand why I subtracted it and not added it? Because it's positive 2. So what's the opposite of positive? Negative. Okay. Have I solved for y? No. I solved for 2y. Now I need to get y by itself. So I need to divide by, and I'm going to divide each part by 2. 2, 2, and 2. The whole, every piece gets divided by 2. Yes?
Yes.
So that's going to leave me y equals, what's 4 divided by 2?
1.
2. And then those 2 cancel, so 2 minus x. Huh? Okay, is everybody good there? Okay, let's look at this one. I'm solving for w. So I need to move 2l, so what would I do? It's plus. So I'm going to subtract 2l from both sides. I get p minus 2l, and that looks like a 21. If you want to put a little leg on the L, you can. Equals 2w. Landon. Okay, does that make sense? Does everybody understand why I subtracted? Okay, now have I solved for w? No. So how do I get rid of the 2 times the w? Divide by 2 each part. Okay, this p won't simplify, so that's p over 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, so that's L equals W. Does that make sense? Because it was 2 times W. Do you have a question? Okay, let's look here. What am I solving for here? X. So I need to move this. How would I move this positive pi r squared? Subtract pi r squared from both sides. And these are formulas, guys. These are actual formulas. So on this side, you would have s minus pi r squared That's 0. We get pi rx. I'm going to give you a second. Make sure you're with me and you're writing and you understand what I did there. Okay, do you see it's a positive? Ask RC plus. So what's the opposite of plus? Subtract. So I do it on both sides. Okay? Everybody with me? All right. I'm solving for x. So what is pi and r doing with this x here? Multiplying. So what's the opposite of multiply? Divide. So I'm going to divide each part, just like we've been doing, by pi r. Now I'm going to give you a second to write that down and make sure you understand before we move on, because it'll get a little confusion if not, right? So don't just write it. Everybody understand I divided by pi r? Does everybody understand? Because it was pi r times x. So the opposite of times is divide. Okay. Is there anything that will cancel here? No. So I'm going to have to write my answer up here because I don't have enough room there. So on the bottom, s minus pi r. There's nothing in common that will cancel. Does everybody see that? Okay, on this side, what happens to the pi's? They cancel out because pi divided by pi would be 1. There's 2 r's and 1 r, so what's left there? What do you do with exponents when you divide?
Multiply.
What do you do with exponents when you divide? Subtract. 2 minus 1 is 1. Remember, you can take 1 away from the top, 1 away from the bottom, leaves 1 on the top. That's from unit 0. Here, the pi and the r went away, and you're left with x. So that's your final answer there. Does that make sense? Would you understand that the pi's went away? And then r2 minus 1. Remember, this has an exponent of 1. 2 minus 1 is 1. So that leaves me just 1 r. Okay. Here we're solving for b. All right, these fractions, how do we get rid of a fraction? Multiply by 2 on both sides. Remember, we did that last week. If we need to get rid of a fraction, we multiply by the common denominator. So that's going to give me 2a. The 1 half times 2 is just 1, so that equals bh. Are you with me, Austin? Does everybody see how I got 2a equals bh? Have I solved for b? What do I need to divide by? What? H, right? Not 2h, just h. The 2, that's went away. I just have bh left. So that cancels. I get 2a over h equals b. Yes? Where? Over here? Here? If I put a b underneath it, the b would go away too. I'm trying to get b by itself. So it's b times h. So I have to divide. Good? All right. Everybody with me? All right. Here we have 1/3. So what would I multiply here to get rid of that 3? 1/3. Sorry. 3, right? So I get 3v because I multiplied. 1/3 times 3 is just 1. Yes? Remember they cancel? This is what we did last week. Okay, I'm trying to get h by itself. So these are doing what to h? What are all of these doing? Multiply. So what's the opposite of multiply? Divide. So I got to get rid of the pi and the r squared. So I move it over. I get 3v over pi r squared. Those cancel and cancel equals h.